Now we have verbs. We're going to look at regular, irregular, and stem changing verbs. So for regular verbs in Spanish, it's pretty easy. All we have to do is take the AR, ER, or IR off the infinitive form and add the endings for the present conjugation. So we have the endings O, AS, A, amos, ais, y an. We just add that to the stem, which is what remains when we take AR off. And then we have our form. So if I want to say I love, you just say yo amo. Or if I want to say nosotros amamos, I can just add the AMO. Then we have the ER and IR, which are actually similar between them. They have the beginning, the singular forms are the same. The third person plural is the same, but we have to change the nosotros and vosotros, which is hemos and imos in IR, and eis and is. But as you can see, they're pretty similar. They're not hard to remember. All you have to do is replace that ER, IR, or AR with the endings, and you will have your correct present irregular verbs. But what happens when we have stem changing verbs? So stem changing words actually have the regular endings. They are regular sometimes. But what we have to change is the stem. So we'll still be adding this conjugation, like the one we just saw, to AR, ER, and IR, but we'll be changing the stems, which is what here you can see in red. So here we have some examples. There's a few others, but these are the main ones we've seen. So let's try to do an E to IE change. So all this means is that in a verb, we will change the E to an IE. So in the case of yo, it's not yo cerro, it's yo cierro, because we're doing the stem change. For example, tú would be tú not cerras, because it has a stem change, so it would be cierras. Or él not cerra, but cierra. And the same thing would be done for the third person plural, ellos. It wouldn't be cerran, it would be cierran. However, we have to make a big note that nosotros and vosotros does not change. Vosotros and nosotros keeps the stem the same as in the infinitive. So you must never change the nosotros and vosotros form. This one will remain regular, while the others do the stem change. So the same thing happens in E to I. We're going to be changing the E to an I. So in the example of yo, it's not consigo, it's consigo, because we changed the E to an I, the E to an I. So then we have tú. So if it was regular without a stem change, it would be consigues. But because it has a stem change, we're going to say consigues. Also a note that we put a U here because the sound that conseguir does is the G sound, and we cannot make the G sound with the G unless it has a U right behind it. So whenever the E and the I are after a G and we want to make the G sound, we have to make there's a U there. We don't use it with the O because it's an O, it's not an E or an I. But because the rest has an E or an I, same as the infinitive, we have to make sure we put a U there. So going back to the stem change, it won't be consigue, it will be consigue. And the ellos form won't be consiguen, it will be consiguen. But as we saw before, the nosotros and vosotros form does stay the same, so they will use an E instead of an I. But the rest will do the stem change. Now we have the O to UE. And this is exactly the same thing. We have the verb poder, for example, and it won't be yo puedo, it will be yo puedo, tú puedes, él puede, ellos pueden, and then the nosotros and vosotros form will stay exactly the same. So that's stem changes, which, as you can see, are not hard. The hard part is knowing what verbs have them and which verbs don't. So it's a good idea to put them in different colors or something that will help you remember which verbs have a stem change and what stem change it is. Then furthermore, we have verbs that are regular in all their forms except for the first person singular. Let's make sure we make a note of that. The yo form, basically. So we have all of these verbs, and let's just remember what they are. Salir means to go out. Hacer means to do. Poner means to put something somewhere. Traer means to bring something. Conducir means to drive. Traducir means to translate. Conocer means to know. Caber means to fit someplace. Saber also means to know. And ver means to see. So when you're studying these, it can be a good idea to put them in groups so you remember which ones have the GO form for yo or the ZCO form. And these are just irregular, so you just have to learn them. Remember, the rest of the verb is regular. It's just the first person singular, the yo form, that will be irregular. And other irregular verbs that you might want to keep an eye out on is ser, ir, tener, venir. Estar and that only change the first person, the rest stays the same, but some of these have stem changes plus being irregular, so you want to keep an eye out for these. And then just to make a small note, remember that we've learned how to talk in the future now. We only need to use the conjugated form of ir plus the preposition a plus the infinitive, and we can say that we are going to do something in the future. So we have yo, I, voy, the conjugated form of ir, a, and then cantar, sing. I am going to sing. Or ustedes, you guys, formal, van, the form of ir, a, and then ver, to see. You guys are going to see a movie. So remember, this is a very easy way to just say the future. We're going to use ir in the conjugated form. We're going to put the preposition a, and then we're going to use the infinitive. That means the AR, ER, or IR form. And that's all for verbs.